Hi, everyone. This is Mr. Peraza, Social Studies, and this is the World War II Fighting Forces of Color. Who were those fighting forces of color? African Americans in World War II, fighting for democracy. And they were joined by the Navajo Code Talkers and the 442nd Military Regiment made up of Japanese American soldiers. Who were the fighting forces of World War II? They were made up of African Americans, Latinos, Americans of Japanese heritage, the Nisei, Native Americans. African Americans in World War II were represented by Doris Dory Miller. Picture over here that I have. He was awarded the Navy Cross for his valiant gallantry during the attack on Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941, where Americans suffered 3,000 deaths at the hands of the Japanese attackers. He was a war hero for the Black community during the 1940s, and there's a ship named after him. Who were the Tuskegee Airmen? Well, the Tuskegee Airmen were the first African-American military aviation unit. They trained in integrated centers alongside their white counterparts. They passed rigorous testing. The Tuskegee Airmen were represented in a movie called The Red Tails. There you see a picture of them. And the movie produced by George Lucas of Star Wars fame. He made a movie, backed it, about the Red Tails and their exploits in shooting down German, some of the most advanced German aircraft in the last years of World War II. The 442nd Unit Go for Broke Nisei soldiers. They were the first all Nisei U.S. Army unit, highly decorated in France and Germany. The 21 Medal of Honor recipients to the 442nd Unit, suffering severe casualties in Germany and in Western Europe. So they won these 21 Medal of Honor recipients. I went to their museum back in LA. The Go for Broke Nisei soldiers, the 442nd Regimental Combat Unit, as represented here in the images I have. And like I said, I went to their museum in Los Angeles, the Japanese American Museum there in Los Angeles, California. Code Talkers, Native Americans in World War II, or who were they? Well, they were our first cybersecurity specialists. They were bilingual soldiers, Navajo, and they used their language to outwit the enemy, the Japanese forces. 400 to 500 of them served in the U.S. Marines, like I said, during the South Pacific in World War II. They contributed to the Iwo Jima victory. Code Talkers, Native Americans in World War II. The language they were forbidden to speak is the same language that saved this nation and served our country. So there they are using it in the South Pacific. The Windtalkers, Native Americans in World War II, were represented in the movie called Windtalkers, starring Nicolas Cage, one of my favorite actors. And there's one of the Windtalkers, they're relaying the messages in Navajo back to the artillery. And there's one of the veterans there in the center, a Windtalker veteran of the Native Americans in World War II. Latino Americans in World War II. 500,000 Latinos served in World War II. Richard I. Trujillo is the first Latino killed in the Pearl Harbor attack on December 7th, 1941. 3,000 killed. 13 Medal of Honors for Latinos in World War II. Well, how was it for Latino Americans in World War II? They were proudly serving the United States forces in both the European and South Pacific theaters, as represented there, a long history of serving the United States, and literature surrounding the Mexican-American experience in World War II. So to conclude, your project will be create a visual report, a post with 4 hyperlinks, 4 graphics, and 1 to 2 paragraphs why you selected that force of color. I'll look for your posting online.